Hey guys, this is Risk here, and I am back with an analysis on Parting versus TY DreamHack game number 1. I am so incredibly excited for this one. We're just really going to break down in detail everything that we see. We really want to go over all the minute details. We really want to figure out what makes Protoss tick, what makes Terran tick, and what is the meta of Legacy of the Void? Where are things headed based off of these games in DreamHack? So, let's get started. Just a wonderful drink of amazing water before we get started on this incredible game. So, TY versus Parting. This was the series that everyone was just buzzing about. There was just such an electric series, so much micro plays and counter plays, and to be honest, this is just I can't wait to analyze these. I've been just waiting and waiting for the replay pack to come out. So we have Parting spawning in the top left and 2Y in the bottom left, and this is Central Protocol. This map is absolutely huge, which, as we know in Legacy of the Void, seems to kind of be a trend. You have a lot of space between natural bases, third bases. All the Legacy of the Void in general has become very much so about taking a third base, taking a fourth base, who can rapidly expand. So right away after Pylon, we have a scout from Parting. Pretty normal. He gets really lucky with this first scout. So we really just want to be keeping track of what our players are up to, where they're headed into the mid-game. So we have a normal barracks first, we have gas from Parting. All of this is pretty standard stuff. This probe scout, what are the advantages of getting a probe scout this fast is he's going to be able to right away check for the refinery, for the gases, make sure he has the presence of mind and the comfort of mind knowing that it's not a CC first. So TY is just going to chase this around, do all the normal stuff. Double gas on the way. All of this is very normal. This looks a lot like Heart of the Swarm, but here is where things start to change. Here are where Legacy of the Void differs from Heart of the Swarm. So we can see immediately that Parting here is going to go ahead and go 2 gates, which is pretty standard, but I think it's going to be awesome to see how Parting utilizes these 2 gateways. So, continuing onward, here we go. So the advantages of 2 gateways is definitely you have the double adept play, which is just so common in Legacy of the Void. Adepts are just such all-around strong units, and it just gives you so much mobility and the ability to put pressure on and scout at the same time. Now, Parting is going to go ahead and see this reactor rate here, which is, to him, this is excellent knowledge to be able to see that you have a reactor rate there, be able to know where this gas was headed, that it wasn't going on some factory. Over here, meanwhile, we're just going to follow Parting's vision a little bit. We know that TY saw the scouting information. He's going to know that Parting is just doing the standard cybercore opening with 2 gateways. And meanwhile, Parting's probe just kind of sharking around the map. But right here, let's look at this supply. 20 supply from TY, and he puts down his second CC. Now notice the positioning here. This is very intelligent positioning in terms of what we have here is we have our barracks right here, so it's not like it's within range of the probe scout, but let's just think further towards the mid game. If ever there's going to be a Phoenix scout coming from up here, and let's just say hypothetically you're going to go into a 3CC play, this is a pretty safe spot to put your first CC in terms of being able to deny scouting info. It's just something to note. Everything's continuing on pretty normal. Look at this right away. Double adept queued up by Parting, and a bunker right here. And notice the positioning on this. He wants to be able to stop these adepts from getting in, but he wants his marines safe. He doesn't want to overextend. He doesn't want those adepts just flying right on by. So all this placement is just so intelligent by TY. He is just cranking out marines at this point. Completely standard. Just wants to make sure. But notice this, he's going to only have 1 in the bunker and 1 on the other side. This is just all to make sure against the certain adept plays that are going down. So Parting, let's notice right away. Chrono on the cyber core. And TY, what is TY seeing? TY is seeing part of a cyber core and 2 gateways. He has no idea what's going on. And this is part of the new Legacy of the Void. What it brings to the table is, because you have to play so safe, because of this double adept opening, it's very hard to get scouting info off, especially when you don't open Reaper. But where is TY headed right now? He's going into a factory, which, if we think about this is most likely going to be for Widow Mines, because he's playing so safe, because he really doesn't have that much information going on right now for him. Parting on the other side, look at this. He's at 31 supply. Right after he makes the double adept, he goes straight into the Stargate right here. And he can do this so boldly and so certainly because he knows that there was no Reaper opening. So he has so much freedom on the map right now. The only vision that TY has had was this watchtower, and he doesn't even spot this. But look at this play from TY. TY having the sense to scout this out. This is just great foreshadowing by TY to be able to think logically about what could be placed down. And look at that. He spots it, and he backs away. Just the presence of mind. I think a lot of people, right when they spot something, they really overextend, and they want to see everything. But right now, TY has a critical set of information. He sees the proxy right here, but Parting does not know about that. And Parting on the other side, he's very all in right now. There is no Nexus in sight. There's no Robo in sight. He has double Adept on the way, and this is just a very aggressive opening. And look at these double Adepts. He's already going to see that it's no CC. So will Parting adapt? Will Parting back off after realizing that there really isn't been that big of an aggressive play to take the expansion? But look at this, that Adepts continue to be produced. And look at this, more stuff continuing to go down. And this SCV has been the critical linchpin of this game. If we, you know what, let's go ahead and go back here. I just want to keep track of this SCV, because this is what separates a great player from, I think, the average player. The average player, for the most part, they might lose this SCV. They might show this SCV. So give me a moment here. I guess we'll go ×2 speed. Let me get a drink of water quick. Ah, water. Get those hydrogens and oxygen. So nice. This SCV right here, this is the one that we want to be following. This is the guy that does so much this game. And up until the 3-minute and 30-second mark, we're just going to follow him. That's all we're going to do. We're going to follow this little guy. Look at this. Spots double gateway. Spots cybercore. And he gets out free. Like, totally. He gets completely great scouting info. But what does he do with it? He doesn't bring it back to his mineral line. And a lot of Terrans, gold, platinum, diamond masters, they'll bring this SCV back to this base for mining, but no. TY values the information that this SCV has to offer you more than anything else. So look at this. He's going to head over to this watchtower. And once again, watchtowers are so ignored by most players, but watchtowers represent so much knowledge and vision that can be gained. So let's go ahead. Look at this. Boom. What does he spot? What does TY spot with this tower? He actually doesn't spot anything with this tower, but it's more just the basic concept and the value that you need to scout information. You need to constantly be prodding for information. And once again, we're going to still follow this SCV until 3:30. Look at this right here. Look at this bad boy right here. And boom! Look at this. Spots right here. Let's look at Parting's vision. Look at this. Ooh, Parting actually can spot it because the pylon's finished. Sorry guys, that was an oversight by me, but where is Parting looking at this exact moment? We're going to go to normal speed. Does he spot the SCV? He's busy with the Adept, and he doesn't realize that TY spotted this right here. So that's a little bit lucky on TY's part, but nonetheless, it's the idea that you can spot knowledge, and the instant you know something about your opponent, and your opponent doesn't know that you don't know that information, then you have a huge advantage. The way I'd like to equate this to is like, picture like in poker, if you found out what one of your opponent's cards are, and you go and you're playing up the river, you're playing along your cards, and you know what card your opponent has, but they don't know that you know what card they have. It's a huge advantage. Scouting and knowledge is a critical part of StarCraft, and TY right here just showing us the essence and the importance of sticking to these type of this thought process that I'm going to refuse to let my opponent know what I know, right? You always want to be gaining those small little edges. So Legacy of the Void games are so short, and I can't believe this game is ending in 2 minutes. But look at this. still cranking out Marines. This bunker just expertly placed. Parting has continued to get gateways. And look at this. TY once again going in for another scout. He wants to know. But oh my gosh, these adepts... actually, no, the adepts don't do anything. They were just scouting out for any SCV. But once again, this SCV is invaluable. There are so many people that just get utterly locked in their base. Had this SCV died, this entire game might be in a different situation. TY might have been running situations through his head and been thinking, oh, it's like an adept contain. He's just trying to contain. That's a lot of adepts. But because he had that scouting SCV, he was able to spot the Stargate and know that something's coming. Look at this. Tech Lab on the factory. He wants to get a siege tank out. He wants to keep cranking Marines out. And his entire defense is going to be based around those things. And look at this. He knows that it's a Stargate, so he's worried about an Oracle. Boom! Oracle on the way. So, once again, TY, knowing this was on the way, and essentially continuing on. Oh, I missed something. I missed something, ladies and gentlemen. I am very sorry about that. It looks like... oh, there must have been some sort of lag. But let's just follow this SCV again. Because, once again, this SCV is the linchpin of this game. He is the center point of TY. Sorry about that, drinking that water. So let's go ahead and follow this guy. Narrowly escapes the adepts. And we're just looking at TY's vision right now. And right here, right when he doesn't see a Nexus, at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, immediately we want to see the reaction from TY. Because it's in this exact moment right here that he realizes, oh my gosh, it's 100% all in. This is the confirmation that TY has been looking for. This is the moment right here. So clearly there was a little bit of lag right there. I'm going to go back to faster. Still got the adepts chilling out here, and this Oracle is pretty much going to do nothing because TY has gathered so much information. That's the thing. This entire game would look completely different being not for this SCP. And this is what makes TY such an expert player. But okay, oh my gosh, and this is the difference between Legacy of the Void and Heart of the Swarm. We have a Cyclone on the way. So let's think about this logically. When he sees a Stargate being proxied, he knows that it's most likely going to be an Oracle or that it's going to be a Void Ray. Now, what is going to be the best possible unit against a Void Ray at this point in the game besides missile turrets? Well, guess what that unit is? It's the Cyclone. And not only is the Cyclone a great unit against a Void Ray, it's great against Adepts because it outranges them. So this is just an excellent unit. He scouted, he reacted, he threw down the factory, and he got this unit. And this unit alone would help him just huge, help him a great deal with this defense. And look at now, only right now, at the 3 minute and 45 mark, is he finally getting his second refinery. This is something to note, guys. Just a super strong emphasis on a lot of minerals, because your minerals are what's going to be key in the defense at this point in the game. You don't have time to crank out gas units because gas units take a long time to build. And so look at this. We got Stalkers warping in. Let's slow this down here. We have the Oracle coming up here. And look at this Cyclone complete. Look at this. This Cyclone is just absolutely huge. He's going to lock on. And look at that. Look at how strong the Cyclone is against zoning out the Oracle. Just a huge part of that. And now, where did that scouting SCV go? Look at this. The scouting SCV once again coming back here. This SCV is huge. I cannot emphasize enough that in a game where you have a scouting unit and you sense something fishy, keep probing for information. I think a lot of people, when they initially scout, they get so stuck in this mindset of scouting once and then heading back home. Scouting is not a one-time thing. Scouting is not a 2-time or a 3-time or a 4-time thing. Scouting is not a static thing. Scouting is constant. You are constantly probing for information. Players like Life, players like Parting, the reason that separates them is because they are constantly looking for this information. So at this point, he spots one more Oracle and he knows this is all in. There's stuff at the front, and now it's going to be up to the defense. Now look at this second unit that comes out. Once he knows he has a lot of safety against the Oracle, what's his second immediate follow-up? A siege tank. And this is absolutely critical. Just think about this thought process. You spot a Stargate, and right away in his head, that's the trigger for him to go boom, Cyclone, right away, and then right into a siege tank. The siege tank was as a response to not seeing the Nexus. He knows it's an all-in at this point, and from here we can pretty much just resume and see what happens. He also has a second barracks on the way because he can afford it. He did get a little supply blocked, which was very unfortunate, and he probably should have thrown down 1 or 2 more bunkers. But look at the marine count right now. He has such a great marine count. And look at this cyclone. This cyclone is absolutely huge in terms of kiting backwards. And now the siege tank is finished. And will he be able to hold off Parting's push? And this Oracle has continued to do quite a bit of damage. And the repair wasn't there in time. And it looks like, despite everything, that TY loses the game. And you know what? That's okay. A lot of people, they would suddenly they would stop and they would say, well, it seems like TY's reaction wasn't good. It seems like TY clearly had bad decision making and his reaction was incorrect. And that is the absolutely worst thing to do, because let's think about what TY did right. TY scouted perfectly. TY saw everything he needed to see. So where did he go wrong? And that's what we want to identify for us other players. If we ever get into a situation where we spot a proxy Stargate and we have the scouting information that he did, where did TY go wrong? So we're going to zoom back to the 2-minute and 38-second mark here, and we want to look for how could he have reacted differently. So I think that the very strong mineral part was smart. But I think that TY's biggest mistake that he made is at the point that he realized it was all in. Let's continue onward. Right here. He has an extra CC. In his mind, the only thing that he has to do at this point is defend. That's it. It is the only thing he should be worried about. Because at this point, with the way the mining works out, it's not like in Heart of the Swarm where Parting can just take a Nexus behind the pressure. It doesn't exactly work like that. At this point, he knows it's completely all in, so he needs to have a very extreme reaction to this. The Cyclone, I think, was a great reaction, but his biggest problem came right here. He continues to make SCVs. Now, in TY's situation, you're already oversaturated. He knows it's like all in. Why would you try to continue to make SCVs in this situation? What he should be doing, he should have put down bunker, bunker, bunker. All he needed to do was get bunker after bunker after bunker and get multiple siege tanks. And he's held. He has way more income than his opponent does. In fact, he could float this thing all the way over here if he needed to really expand, if he was feeling too contained. So that, I think, is why TY lost this game, is because he continued to make SCVs when in reality he needed to commit more to the defense. The only reason he would have lost is because he didn't have enough bunkers. This situation right here, imagine right here if there was bunker, bunker, bunker. He could have afforded that too. He's still making SCVs right here. He could have afforded another barracks. So as we come to a close this game, I think it's a really bad conclusion to say, well, the Cyclone was a bad decision. It seems like his follow-up wasn't very good, right? But that's not the right thing to say in this situation. TY reacted great. His scouting info was great. He saw everything he needed to see, and the only problem was that small critical error, which was continuing to make SCV after SCV after SCV. He should have been making bunkers. He should have gotten another barracks quicker, and I think that's what we can walk away from this replay knowing. And now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and go to the second replay. TY versus Parting. I'm probably only going to do 2 replays because I don't probably go analyze number 3, 4, and 5 all separately because they're all such great games with so much information to glean from them. Alright. Dusk Towers for map 2 between Parting and TY. So the first thing I want to talk about right away is the map structure, because that's always what we're going to be talking about initially. The map is going to be somewhat determining your overall strategy. For instance, in this game, unlike the last game, a natural is a very, very safe move you can always make as a player on this map, at pretty much as any race, because you have a very small choke to defend, there's no backdoor rocks, and this natural is a very safe game to play. So without even continuing to watch this replay, we need to operate under the assumption that both of these players have strategies based around the map architecture to an extent, right? So we have continued SCV production and whatnot, and pretty standard. Legacy of the Void, things are accelerate into the mid game much quicker. Heart of the Swarm, you kind of had your 3 stages. You kind of had your early game, you had your mid game, and your late game, and it was always about how does your mid game propel you into your mid game? How does your mid game propel you into the late game? And how smoothly can we make that transition? And in Legacy of the Void, players are constantly looking to find, well, how can I go into the mid game? How can I do it as smoothly as possible? That's essentially what the metagame is pushing towards right now. How smooth can we transfer from one composition to another? These are the things we're looking for. How are these players striving to kind of put that stake into the ground and say, these are my set of production buildings, this is the composition I'm going for, and how do they move into that zone, that position where they're able to do that, where they're functioning off of full cylinders. So let's go ahead and continue here. So we have a simulator, gateway, completely normal stuff, all that wonderful jazz. And look at this, like I was saying, Nexus first from Parting, and what do you know, CC first from TY, because of this crazy long rush distance between the two. And what do you know, scouts from both sides. And let's keep an eye on Parting's probe this game, right? Because the way Terran develops in the mid game is much different than Protoss on a map that's very, very large. And let's just see here. How little information does Parting actually get from this? Let's look at this right here. Boom, 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 and that probe is dead. Now, what can Parting? What assumptions can Parting make from this? So we saw that there was another SCV coming out. We saw that TY was very intentionally trying to deny scouting, but the important thing is that he didn't see a factory right here. He didn't see any tech structure right here that would switch with the barracks. So what he can pretty much immediately come to the conclusion to is that there is going to be a CC right there building right in that moment because of that probe scout. So that probe scout was invaluable information. He is free to chrono probes. He is free to pretty much do whatever he wants at this point, and TY as well. And look at this, we have the double gas follow-up. So a very greedy opening by TY, but once again, the map structure dictates a lot of the time how the game is played out. TY, once again, with the very sneaky probe scout, or not a probe scout, my bad, SCV. And he's even gonna, is he gonna try to hide this? I'm curious what he's gonna try to do. Oh, wow. Wow. Ho ho ho. So sneaky, so sneaky. Parting's going to go into an Adept, and he's going into Cybercore. And notice what his chrono on. His chrono is on his Nexus. He's not trying to rush out his Adept super fast. He's not trying to rush out a Cybercore. Meanwhile, on the other side, TY, once again, with a very strategic bunker placement that a lot of Terrans need to start doing. If you're a Diamond, if you're a Platinum, or a Gold level Terran, look at what TY is doing. He is putting a bunker right here so he can say no to the Adepts if they ever try to sprint up the ramp. Like, he can catch the Adepts right here, and it also kind of propels him into this third base in terms of a strategically defended location. So next up we have our Robo on the way and our Mothership Core. So this game is playing out completely different than our last game, obviously because Parting is going for something much more safe than the last game. So we have Reactor, and we have our factory. We have so much gas coming in right now, so much gas from TY, and we want to see where is that gas spent. Because a lot of the times, in terms of scouting, the huge question we're always asking ourselves is, where is the gas going to? Where is the gas being invested to? Because that's where your tech is headed, and where your tech is headed is where your whole strategy is based around. So is TY going to be going into some sort of Cyclone play? Is he going to be going into some weird Banshee play? Is this just going to be straight up stim? Is it going to be fast engineering base? Where is the gas headed towards? Likewise for Parting, we saw that he invested into a Robo. Is he going to go into a fast disruptor warp prison play? Is he going to go for a bunch of blink stalkers? Is it going to go to DT, Colossus? These are the questions we're asking ourselves, and that's the one thing about having such safe locations, is that your opponent is pretty much in the dark where your gas is going. It's very hard to tell, and that is something you always should be probing around for in terms of your opponent. Can you find out where he is spending his gas? So, Adept, moving on along. Look at him go. So fast. Right into, not into the bunker. He's going to be edging his way around here. Double SCV. Notice the placement on this factory. And this is something more and more Terran players are starting to do. You put your facility just out of range of the probe, or the Adept. Whatever makes it to the top of the ramp, if you can hide what your tech structure is, that's a huge deal. And what we'll see here is we'll see Parting potentially send his ghost up here and try to spot what's going on up there. Now, a bunch of things happened. Let's notice what's happening. It's 3:20. We've had a lot of gas being mined. A lot of gas. Double gas is not super normal. Look where TY is headed. Tech Lab, Starport, all out of range of the Adept. Meanwhile, Twilight Council from Parting. So, I think we can conclude, because we know that Parting is not going into an all-in, and he knows that it's a CC first, that this is kind of Parting's go-to stable play. And we really want to see how that looks and how that develops. Chronoing out observers, so he really wants to get knowledge at this point. Like I was saying, you want to find out where your opponent is spending his gas. This Adept is just rolling on around. And look at this. Even a second observer. Where is this observer headed? Over here, just for drops. Because once again, he has no idea what's going on. It could be a Banshee, could be a Cyclone. Looks like we have a Cyclone coming out here. Which, once again, a Cyclone is such a stable play against that Oracle, because it does such a good job of chasing away the Oracle that it seems to be a very good and stable play. Ooh, what did Parting spot? See, look at that. Parting spotted absolutely nothing. Parting is in the dark right now. Actually, he's in the dark for another 30 seconds, which is huge. Every second that goes by that Parting doesn't know what's going on is time that TY has to essentially gain momentum. Third CC on the way. Parting, on the other hand, Blink on the way, another observer, and a Warp Prism. And this is great. A Warp Prism is such a great opening for applying pressure with those Adepts, and it's just a very great play with how fast Warp Prisms are, and with how Terran's been opening up. You can't really open up Viking because of Adepts and things like that. So we have a Raven on the way, just very cautious for observers and for, you know, DTs, things like that. So let's think about this. The Cyclone is great against the Oracle, and then the Siege Tank is great against any sort of gateway all-in, and the Raven is good against DTs and observers. So with this opening that TY did, he has covered so much. This is just a simple barracks into reactor into tech lab on a factory into a starport. Such a simple opening off of the back of 2 quick guesses, and he is able to essentially lock down 3 paths that the Protoss can go down. He has not hard counter, but has very nice soft counters for any sort of play that Parting could have done early on. And I really like this Raven because of the anti-observer, and it's just a great unit in general. And look at this right here. We have full saturation on our main, and we're approaching full saturation on our natural. And with the double mule, we can kind of say that this is full saturation. So let's say this is 16 out of 16. This is 16 out of 16. This is when TY decides to put down the double barracks. I don't think 451 is the critical timer he's looking at. I think he's looking at saturation on this. Once he sees that he's collecting gas on both bases and he has full saturation, and his Raven is about to complete. See, this is the moment. This is the trigger TY is looking for. Raven's done. We throw down 2 more barracks. On the other side, we have Parting. After his Warp Prism completed, or after he built his Warp Prism, his next step was to get more gateways, which is very stable. And with the Warp Prism, you're gonna want to be looking to warp in gateway units, obviously. So it's a very logical step. And it looks like he could have shifted this chrono on something else. And we have the Blink on the way. And look at this, the follow-up going to be our robotics bay, which, if you think about it, is a very logical transition because of the robo. This is something I want to talk about really quick. In Legacy of the Void, because of how fast things mine out, and with there being less gas, I think everyone needs to understand that it's a little bit more difficult for players to be going down multiple tech paths at once. Once you commit to a Robo Bay, once you commit to a lot of gateways, it's kind of hard to back off in Legacy of the Void. Once you're committed, you kind of need to continue to go down that that line of construction in terms of your tech tree. Not always, but it just seems to be a general trend at this point. Going back to the Terran, look at this. Where'd that observer go? Okay, we're gonna rewind here because this is pretty big right here from TY. H2O. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So let's see this observer across the map here. Da 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 da. Gotta love the animation. So many units, they got their small little cool little features on them, like the spinning of the observer. I think is great. So what does Parting see? Let's look at Parting's vision for a moment. Let's really slow down here. After his warp prism was built and he has full saturation. Just notice how TY's trigger was full saturation, so is Parting's trigger to put down more production is having full saturation on both bases. And now he's even going to throw down a fort. Oh, no, that was a mistake going for the robotics bay, my bad. And look at this, Observer's really not going to see a crazy amount. Is TY aware of this Observer at this point? I think he might be aware of the Observer. And this Raven's going to pop out here. I just want to see what happens to this Observer. Double barracks coming down because of full saturation. Raven pops. Oh! Observer spotted. And TY notices this. And now, that's one dead Observer, if I've ever seen one. Now let's see from here. Because this was started up immediately after the Observer was killed. We just want to go ahead and confirm this. Because once again, this is, if we're going through TY's head, his trigger for throwing down more tech was once the Observer was killed. So let's just make sure this is exactly how it went down here. Raven gets built. Observer gets killed. Look at this. He doesn't start Cloak until he's killed the Observer. So what a beautiful play. He predetermined he was going to go into Banshee, but he knew that the Raven opening, he was not going to build Cloak until he killed the Observer, that he knows is most likely going to be somewhere in his base. His trigger for making the Banshee, for making Cloak, is killing the Observer. And that's, as players, that's things we always want to be looking for. What are the triggers for the plays and the units that we're building? And this is very interesting. This little combo right here is just always looking around for things. Man, Legacy of the Void is fast, guys. Because look at this. We have Thermal Lance and Colossus on the way, which we saw was a pretty natural follow-up. We have a Sentry, most likely for Hallucinated Scout, going to be building up energy. And we have our third base on the way. Now, what was Parting's trigger for getting a third base? Let's go ahead along here. 506. We want to know what Parting's trigger was for getting the third base. Because the huge part about Legacy of the Void is how are you opening? We saw TY's clear defined opening. A barracks into a tech lab factory into a tech lab starport to cover all the angles. DTs, Gateway All-In, Oracle. He covered those. And the Raven even covers the Observer that he killed eventually, which then opens up the door for the Banshee. Now, Parting on the other side, what is his trigger for this third base? His gateways are finishing up, and his robo is finishing up. Is that going to be his trigger? Yes, that's going to be his trigger. The 5-minute-ish mark, and his gateways are finishing up. He's full-blown production. He has perfect saturation. His production is just finishing up. This is when Parting wants to take his base. And you can see here, lots of pylons being thrown down, because Mothership Core, gotta love that Photon Overcharge. Yum, yum, yum. Love me some Photon Overcharge. And look at this, double engineering bay. This is off the back of once your barracks are being built, and he had the money to afford these, and he has the gas. Look how his gas is approaching that 250 mark. At around 150 gas, after he built the Banshee, he decided he was going to throw down double engineering bay. So once again, this is such a clearly defined build by TY. After his Banshee was being built, he has full saturation. He sees his gas is approaching that amount. Boom, double engineering bay. Throwing down more reactors, and now we see the transition into bio. And Parting really doesn't have any scouting information. He's somewhat playing in the dark, but the nice thing about the Warp Prism is he's going to get scouting info, and because of the amount of gateways he has, he feels relatively safe so far. Especially when he saw the factory Stargate opening, it does not allow you to go into drops very quick as a Terran player. So Parting feels pretty darn safe. And now from here, we kind of see, you know, the classic Warp Prism stuff versus bio. And look how TY spreads his siege tank out. He spread his units out, and players will constantly get better at this, but a lot of SCVs died here. Way too many SCVs died here. He probably could have had a better split on the Marines, and this kind of caught TY by surprise. But do we blame him? No, not really. He had 0 scouting info. And that's kind of the one danger of TY's opening, is that it covers a lot of the could-bes, but it doesn't necessarily... It's never able truly to be able to know what's coming, which is kind of a... It's a really good thing if you want to head into the mid-game and maybe be slightly behind. But, it's not always going to be the most effective. So +1/+1, lots of switches right here, just a straight up switch into bio. Now Parting on the other hand, look at this. What was the trigger for all of these production buildings? Most likely the third base, but we just want to go ahead and confirm that it was indeed the third base starting to wrap up. So look at this. Third base is starting to finish up. Bylon goes down. Third base is about halfway done. 6-minute mark. We're approaching the 6-minute mark right here. Look at this. 6-minute mark. And boom. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Oh, beautiful. Parting cannot make it easier for us. The trigger is 6 minutes. There is no doubt. In Parting's mind, with this opening, no matter what, he was going to go 6 minutes double forge. No matter what. Double forge. 6 minutes. And then the third base finishing up is going to be Parting's trigger to be going into gateways. Look at that. As the third base approaches completion, he throws down 3 more gateways. And this is all logical. He can afford these 3 more gateways because of the third base. And if you'll notice, he was probing that entire time, just saving up probes for his third base. And all the while, he's been keeping TY distracted. So just a great series of openings by Parting. Gateway opening with the Warp Prism, into the natural transition, into Colossus, into double forge at 6 minutes with a fast third base. And once again, going back to the basics, this is all dictated and all allowable because of the map structure. You couldn't do this on every map. So from here, guys, I just want to switch to camera quick. Give me a moment. From here, it's less of an analysis on the structures and the buildings, because we have officially entered the mid-game, and from here, it's tactics. It's the RTS basics. It's the things that define a pro player from a non-pro player. It's army movement. It's vision. It's control. From here, it's not so much of what production buildings am I getting when I'm getting them, because once you get about the 630 mark in Legacy of the Void, from there it's very free. Things are kind of flowing. But up until then, you can see that both of them, their openings were so cut and defined, and I bet if we watched hundreds of their games, we would see that their builds are in fact very safe, and that they were going to branch off from there based off of what they see and what comes at them. So going back to the game here. Got our adepts still doing so much wonderful stuff, and from here we're not going to go ×2, but we're not going to be as nitpicky from here. We're just going to be watching what's going on. Switches the chrono to the forges. It's a great move. Getting some photon cannons around the 7-minute mark. 7 minutes seems to be a pretty, once again, kind of a time for when Parting decided to put stuff down. Also because of the Banshee, and also another great reason. And from here, look at this. While TY uses his Banshee, he's going to take his third base. Just like when Parting had his Warp Prism, he took his third base. So Legacy of the Void is all about doing one thing, like harass and expanding at the same time. That's always what StarCraft has been about. Love this play right here. getting the increase of warp prism speed because of how important warp prisms are for reinforcement. It seems like a very nice, logical play. Nice little bio squad moving out here with that Raven, which has so much energy. That's an added benefit of getting a Raven so early. You have so much energy to use point defense drone. And look at that. Legacy of the Void, another huge thing. Take your gases right away, guys. Because gas is kind of your limiting factor, it's so important to be establishing your gas quickly. Because things mine out the way they do, gas is going to be your important thing that you always want to be establishing quickly. At least with TY's opening, because now TY has entered Phase 2, and he's entering his late game. His late game is Liberators. Liberator bio with drops. That tends to be what we see. That tends to be what TY has been heading for from the start. He's gotten more barracks after his third base, more tech labs, and now the moment of truth. Can TY hold off this first push from Parting? And Parting just doing a lot of great parrying right here. He wants TY to freak out, but both of these players have very established economies. So at this point, it's just going to come down to unit control. This is where it's less about, I have this and that production structure, and it's more about how you control your army. I want you to note that when he scanned, he saw 3 Colossus, and his immediate reaction was to throw down another Starport, which is completely logical, because if you want to be going for Liberators, it means you can't be going for Vikings. And you kind of need Vikings to deal with Colossus. I don't think you can really truly deal with Colossus with just Liberators, because Liberators are very, very strong zone control units, but Colossus outrange Liberators. So if you're very good with your dancing, Colossus are going to be able to avoid Liberators. So one thing I want to note here is, in a strange way, TY in this game has been the immobile player. He's been completely and entirely defensive. And Parting has done a beautiful job of taking advantage of this. Look at this. He's going to be going ahead and taking a 4th base. He's going to go ahead and be greedily chronoing out just +2/+2. He's probed up so hard. Parting is the one with the mobile army. He's the one who should be expanding. As a basic RTS theme, the person with the fast army is the person who is going to be expanding. That's always the way it is. So this next engagement, we're going to go down to normal speed. And I want you to notice Parting's unit retention. It's a huge part, is how well he retains his big units. Look at this, Warp Prism Micro, zones out with the force fields, chunking off units, and is just overall a very strong engagement. But TY, a great surround. He sacrificed some of his SCVs for this fight. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. Sorry about the Linkin Park reference. It happened so naturally, I couldn't resist. And this was a very close hold. But Parting has sacrificed a lot, and I'll talk about this right after the fight. And that lovely double siege tank opening, because of that early factory, we can see paying dividends. Siege tanks did so much, and the just a great surround. Parting kind of trapped himself a little bit there. So let's talk about the huge side effect of this fight. So Parting lost 3 Colossus. I hope you guys know how long Colossus take to build. I'll tell you how long it takes for a Colossus to build. It takes... Give me a moment here, guys. I should know this off the top of my head. I feel really sad I don't know this off the top of my head as I awkwardly look up Wikipedia and look up Colossus. You can hear me clamoring on the keyboard. It takes... Let's see here. 54 seconds to build a Colossus. So 3 Colossus takes roughly 3 minutes to replace. 3 minutes. So in terms of Legacy of the Void, think about how fast things progress. Things are moving along constantly, so quickly. And that is why high-tech units are so important to keep alive, and it's so important not to throw them away. And I'm not saying Parting didn't, I'm not saying Parting, threw them away, right? He got a nice trade. But 3 minutes, the next 3 minutes, TY has time to absolutely dominate the battlefield. He's going to be the one dictating where the game heads from here for the next 3 minutes, because those power units aren't out. And Bio will always trade better than Gateway units in terms of back and forth, unless you have godlike Blink Micro like Parting does. So, 4th base is taken. And TY... immediately after a huge fight, look at this. He knows the Colossus are gone. He knows the frontal push is done. In terms of vision, he really doesn't have a big idea, but he knows he just took a huge, great fight, and he's right away going to want to be going ahead and prodding around. He wants to know what's going on. So he's got this single Liberator moving around for harassment. He's scanning. He's seeing what's going on. He knows that there's not many observers out on the map because the Colossus were killed. So look at this. Drop and Liberator. Just such a simple play. He's just taking advantage of the fact that Parting just threw away a lot of, not threw away, but they just traded, and he is ready for the next step in the game. He is ready to harass. So look at this Liberator placement. Absolutely beautiful, because even if you warp in 2 Stalkers, it's kind of hard to deal with this, especially when this huge drop is going down. Look at what's happening behind this. Expansion, building more units, Liberators, +2, +2, 4th Command Center. All of this macro is still happening while he's doing this, while he's maintaining the basic idea is, if I expand while I'm attacking, and if I constantly harass, if I'm doing double-pronged attacks while taking expansion, I am pushing myself in the right direction towards a lead. Nice little disruptor play, and he does lose a lot. But look at this. This is huge. 8 kills, 9 kills, 10 kills, 11 kills, 12 kills. Look at this. Bouncing between the main and the 4th base, all while this is still going on. He's trying to keep Parting distracted. He's trying to keep Parting completely on the edge while he takes this 4th base. While he continues. Look at this reinforcement along the minimap. I just want you to look along the minimap. Just a constant line of green streaming across the map. He's not stopping his Liberator production. Super important. He just lost a lot of medevacs. And I think a lot of Terrans I've seen in Legacy of the Void, they get so caught up with Liberators. Like, Liberators, oh my gosh! I need more Liberators. You see bronze, gold, diamond players are like, oh man, I just need mass Liberator. That'll win me the game. And maybe it does. But TY makes the critical observation that he's just lost 3 or 4 medevacs, and look at what he does right away. He's going to go ahead, and he's going to make 3 medevacs. He's churning out medevacs, as many as he can right now, because he needs to replace those lost medevacs. I think a lot of players, they would lose that presence of mind, and they would just keep spamming Liberators, but he needs those medevacs for his bio to continue to be successful, and if he wants to continue, put drop pressure on. So look at this Liberator, still sitting here. That's kind of sorry, I've been so focused on TY. Let's talk about Parting's brilliant defense. He's held on to his 4th base, and he's managed to still be on 52 probes, which in Legacy of the Void, you don't necessarily need to have like 70 probes, the way mining works, but he's starting to develop his late game. Look at his late game. 4th base, he got 1 or 2 more gateways, and also after that big fight, he's slowly starting to transition into Disruptor and into High Templar. Critical move. Parting's late game is going to be +3/+3, Disruptor, Mass Gateway, Mass Disruptor, Mass Storm.
Depleted.
And that's what his infrastructure is heading him slowly towards. He just continues to warp things in. I just love, in terms of TY, he's constantly going back and forth. He's constantly probing with Liberators. And it's only single units. The amount of investment that he's putting into these is very small, and the amount of information he's getting is huge. For instance, this moment right here, every second that TY sees that there's not a reaction to this Liberator, or this Liberator, he knows most likely that Parting is moving across the map. It's a logical assumption he can kind of come to. Look at this line he's setting up right here. He sees that the open space is the most likely place to take the engagement. That's where he's putting his Liberator line down. I'm a little worried because he leaves this area so open for Colossus. But I think if there's ever this kind of situation where the Protoss players traps themselves right here, I think you just go for the Doom drop. You back off of your 4th base and you set up right here. Right there. If you ever see a Protoss player commit this far, if they go all the way up this ramp right here with all their adepts, it takes such a long time to kind of move back down and around and up. If you see them go right there, take your stuff, boom, speed medevac, and you're already to their 4th base in like a second. So, Disruptor's on the way, and once again, a huge part of TY's play is constantly identifying what air unit he needs. He sees he kind of has a Disruptor line. He sees that he has the medevacs. Now it's time for Vikings. That constant realization of where his production needs to be headed with his starport. He's even getting +1 air weapons, which is huge with Liberators. Look at this Liberator line, shredding him up. And if we take a look at TY's vision, he's still got this Liberator. He knows that this is a full frontal push. He knows that he needs to defend this 4th base. This is a critical moment right here. He knows he needs another trade. For Parting, he's just kind of poking and prodding. He he has all of his infrastructure set up, so now he's just looking for very nice trades right now, right? Got this constant little poke going on here. Warp Prism warping in more Adepts and Stalker. You kind of want a 1-to-1 ratio. Adepts are such a good unit, you want a little bit of both. And the Disruptors are here. TY with beautiful positioning. And look at this. He's got such a nice concave setup. And Parting doesn't really have that much vision. And this is where TY is just waiting. He is praying. Look at this. He adds 2 more barracks. Sorry, we'll pause. Where is this? Oh, 2 more barracks right here. Sorry. Look at that. 4th base, 2 more barracks. Just like the Protoss added 2 more gateways when he took his 4th base. So, as a rule of thumb, if you ever expand, you're going to want to be adding on production facilities as Protoss and Terran. Parting, once again, following the rule, if you're putting out aggression, expand. Every time. Especially in Legacy of the Void with such an rapid expansion rate. You want to be constantly looking to expand. And TY pulls the trigger. A beautiful concave. Liberator set up right on top here. SCVs are getting pulled. It's okay to lose these SCVs. He's got orbitals. He's got his Liberator line established. And TY crushes this engagement. And did you notice that he took this engagement after the disruptor shots were shot out? He was so patient. So many times you see players that they're like, oh, I have a beautiful concave, I'm just gonna attack him. Like, my concave is like insane, I should win. You need to be patient. You need to bait out the disruptor shots. Actually, I'm gonna go back like 30 seconds. Patience, patience, patience. Late game is all about patience. Parting got a little impatient. He's trying to force it a little bit too much. Look at this. And I know I've been doing so much of TY, and next game I would like to really identify a lot about Parting, but I think TY is the one that has made some huge innovations in this matchup so far. And look at TY. From TY's perspective, he's going to wait for these Liberator. Boom. So right here, after these are done, he knows that he can pull the trigger. He knows that there's only 1 more Disruptor. With this much bio and the 2 Liberators and the SCVs, he knows he can take this fight. He pulls the trigger. Beautifully, I might add. Look at this 360 surround. Liberator zones getting set up, kiting away nicely on the one side while crushing down the front top side. And he absolutely destroys this engagement. Absolutely destroys it. And look at those Vikings. They killed the Warp Prism, which means there's not going to be any follow-up aggression he has to worry about. All TY needs to do is push, 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 and take a 5th base. Storm is on the way, double Disruptor as the max. He knows. Parting knows that at this point he's already seen some Vikings. He can't really go into Colossus, and he's just got to stick to his guns. He's got to stick with the Disruptors and the High Templars. TY is always going to have better trades. Those medevacs paying dividends that he invested in. Look at this. Takes a big fight, +3/+3. It was a little dangerous before to take +3/+3, but after a big engagement against a Protoss like that, go ahead and get your upgrades. No reason not to. And from here, it's just a big line of, oh, once again, big identification. And this is what's been separating TY from other Terran players. He takes a huge fight. He knows that Parting can't go back into Colossus. He knows that it's most likely going to be Disruptor, Stalker, Gateway. So look at this. 4 Liberators at a time. He's identifying what the Protoss composition is looking like, and he's reacting perfectly. From here, it's just one big, huge micro battle. I'm assuming a 5th base will be taken soon. It seems like a pretty logical play. Just sending drops around. Classic. Whenever you take a big fight, you want to be prodding, poking with your medevacs. He just wants Parting to feel threatened, and Parting's feeling pretty contained right now. He does have this Mothership Core, though, so he feels pretty safe against something like this. Pretty darn safe. Once again, keep blowing up that medevacs, and the beautiful thing about Liberators is you can really set up in a Protoss's player base pretty darn easily. Mothership Core is gonna, activate. See this. Parting, unfortunately, is kind of stuck. He can't really move out. TY has complete control with all these medevacs, so he's just going to be abusing this constantly. Finally, Parting's like, alright, I'm going to make my push. I have Storms, I have Disruptors. But TY, doing the perfect thing. I am the player who is more mobile. I am the player with map control. I'm going to be the one to strike first. Look at this. He is already just shooting so much DPS into the Protoss player's base, and Parting is still hasn't even started. And I love that TY sets up his rally point not across the map in this situation, but back at home. He knows that all he needs to do is defend, and he wins the game. And that's the beauty of Liberators. He just is going to set up right here, set up this nice little zone, and that's it. That's pretty much checkmate. Parting is pretty much stuck. Sure, he can throw down Disruptor shots. Sure, he can throw down High Templar. But these Liberators buy so much time. Drop is just doing an insane amount of damage. He's even taking his 5th base behind this. Parting's all in on this. TY, all he needs to do is defend. He knows that he has mules if he loses SCVs. He knows all he has to do is fall back. And a lot of the times, I think players get really desperate, like, I need to hold this force. I need to hold this position. But I think you need to be aware that you need to have the presence of mind to know that I'm in his main base. I am destroying him. I don't need to hold my natural. In fact, I could lose my 4th too. At this point, it's in one of those base trade situations. I am winning it. All I need to do is defend. TY has identified that all he needs to do is defend. Things continue onwards here. Parting trying his darndest, his best to try to, you know, come back, but TY just dealing irrecoverable amounts of damage. These Liberators are like the nail in the coffin. Just complete zone control. Look at this, even repairing the planetary fortress, adding insult to injury. There's not even detection. He's making ghosts. Continuing to make medevacs at this point. Do you notice that he knows that because there's no more power units that are going to be out on the field from the Protoss player, he switches back into medevacs. This is the biggest part of the game from TY that we can identify. The double starport, you are constantly changing your production based off of what's happening with the Protoss player's composition. And from here, it's just a steamroll. We don't really care too much about the end of this game. What we really cared about is how TY opened in such a beautiful fashion, how we transitioned into the middle of the game, how we took such decisive fights, and from here, game is already won. He has the perfect composition. He's taken the fights he's needed to. He's got +3. He's got his 5th base. He's just rolling. Easy peasy. Easy, easy, easy. GG is called. So in conclusion, TY played an incredibly defensive style in this game. And that was based off of the size of the map. Makes it very hard for the Terran player to scout what the Protoss is doing. So he opens that Tech Lab factory. He gets that Cyclone. He gets that Siege Tank. And he gets that Raven. He covers as many possible things the Protoss can throw at him because he wants to get to the mid-game. And that gentle transition in from there. After he takes his 3rd base, he throws down those extra barracks. He gets the double engineering going. And he starts producing on all cylinders, and those core units that he's made, those 2 siege tanks, that Raven, that Cyclone, those are all things that he can use in the mid-game too, and they just really let him transition into that mid-game. Parting, on the other hand, Parting's opening up very greedy Nexus. He's taking his 3rd base. He's adding on his gateways. He opens up that Warp Prism for map control, for vision, for scouting info, and on the back of that, he's going Colossus. He's going into Robo. He's going into that area of effect. He's getting that +2/+2. Both of these players have found a way to smoothly transition into the mid-game, and that's essentially, ladies and gentlemen, where a metagame comes from. These guys, this game is the beginning of a metagame, and from here, things will evolve. And from there, I am just so excited where things are going. Thanks, guys, for listening. I know this is a very long video. I really enjoyed it. This was a cold analysis, as in I didn't watch these replays. In fact, I didn't even get to watch these games live at DreamHack. I just kind of found out about them. I watched a lot of the games, but not these two. So thanks for watching, guys. Really enjoyed it. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. I got more content coming. Content's just going to keep rolling, boys. We're going to keep pushing out that content because that is what you guys want, and that is what I love, is what you want. So, till then, guys, this is Risk signing out.